CT here, bringing you live action footage, non-live anymore, action footage of Disaster Crasters 3. I'm going to start posting up the stream games, and this is our first one from round 1. I have a guest with me here, good old Daryl Weber. How you doing, Daryl?
I'm doing well. Pretty excited to watch all the misplays and all the terrible things that I did.
All right. I am excited to actually, like, aside from the cut, I actually didn't really get to watch any games all day, like, during the Swiss, so I'm pretty stoked to see. So, it can't be that bad.
Yeah, I do think that this is a very good game.
Good.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of back and forth, and I feel like there's probably so many missed triggers. And we were talking about during the game, I kept telling him, like, if you see me, like, mess something up, do something wrong, like, please just let me know. I haven't played in months. So I can only imagine all the misplays.
You did alright, though. I mean, technically, you advanced from your pod, right? You just had to leave early, so you went ahead and scooped it up and let the other 2 contenders get into the pod instead.
Well, yeah, so if I would have kept things the way they were, we would have had a 3-way tie for second place, and that would have just caused a whole bunch of issues. And I knew that there was a good chance I wasn't going to be able to stay the entire time anyway, so me and Bohan, like, we played it out, and I ended up winning. He went to shake my hand saying he had it, but I was like, nope, I concede, because he's a friend of mine, and I knew that me winning that would just kind of screw over the entire pod anyway, so I just let him have it so that he could go, because I knew I wasn't going to stay anyway.
What a generous guy. No wonder everybody likes you. So, Bleers set up Core Balon, Windermere, it looks like an Iron Fleet Scout, and a Rose Road.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, your glare's kind of rough. You've got a Isle, a Gates of the Moon, a Shadow Tower Mason, and a Shadow Tower, the other guy with Shadow Tower in his name.
Shadow Tower Mason and Castle Black Mason.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, Castle Black Mason. So you both have, like, pretty good setups.
I can't remember what was in my hand, but I think I had the wall, but I didn't want to set it up. And, like, I remember even talking to you guys that I was just worried about nothing burns into we take Westeros and then I just lose.
Yeah, it's pretty soul-crushing. Greyjoy's been running a lot of nothing burns lately, it seems like. So you opened at the gates. He opened first snow.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's kind of a relatively even trade-off. But being that Brian is Greyjoy, I'm sure he's gonna try and put some big fatty down or something this turn. Maybe he has, like, a King's Road or something. I don't know. So
yeah,
your first
my thought
player.
process when I saw that was that he wasn't going to be able to get out anything major. So I'm going to have to see what I do, because I feel like maybe I just play some locations or something. And just preparing, because... No, I think I play, like, one character. I don't know.
He seems... Sure. So he's pretty much doubling down on his Balon doing some work this turn, it seems like, is what he's kind of hoping for.
What did I just play? Because
looks like a haunted...
my face is blocking that.
It's a haunted forest. Yeah, haunted forest.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice. Balon can't really just, like, ignore that, which is definitely a perk. So
yeah, whenever I set up, like, me having Isle of Ravens, I was actually really excited about that, because I figured that he would have a way to get rid of, like, Milks, Cravens, and whatever. So, and, like, I do draw a lot, so be able to put things back, just in case I went to time or something.
That's pretty solid for him opening first on you. You have a wall, a haunted forest, and a Craven T1. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, I knew turn 1 I just was going to play, like, basically just locations, and then just try to build a backboard. And plus I put the Craven out there.
Did you consider triggering your Mason since you were going to get first note anyway?
If I was a better player, yeah, I totally would have considered that.
I didn't know if there was
at one point whenever I knew somebody was going to die anyway, and I knew there was no way around anything, so I triggered it.
Right. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, there could be a reason to keep the Mason up, but it just seems like with the first no triggering, I didn't know if you had considered that option or you were just like,
No,
I got tricks.
I definitely should have, because obviously first no is going to happen, and I'm just going to put one character that mine's going to die in it. Oh wait, no, I did it. Oh man,
you did. Smart. There you go. Look at how rewarding! What an experience. You didn't remember you did, but you did.
Man, I've been out of this game so much I can't even remember. Like, whenever you brought that up, I was like, dang, that would have been really smart. But I sucked.
You're like, hey, I remember when I was kind of okay at this game. So we have a Silences crew.
This game, like coming back and my friends, like it was definitely nice. I mean, I think games could have went better, but it definitely made me miss playing this game a little bit more.
That's good. I think there was a lot of kind of the Stark Greyjoy meta kind of burned people out for a little bit, and then but it seemed like a lot of people were having a good time at Craster, so there wasn't a whole lot of the whole like, oh, everybody, look, all the Stark decks are doing good, all the Greyjoy decks are doing good, which Stark was doing really well, and Greyjoy was doing really well as well, but it didn't feel like super oppressive, and like I can't believe some of the decks that just blew through the day, like the Lanny Reigns that I actually don't think we have a stream game with it, unfortunately, but some pretty interesting decks came out of the woodwork.
Mm.
So, like, going into the day, what were your, the matches you were, most afraid of? Was Greyjoy one of them?
Oh, yeah, of course. I was kind of glad to just get it out of the way, because, Greyjoy, if I can't stop Big Vic, I literally don't do anything. I have to try to do challenges, which is weird. And then also I was really worried about Stark, just because, if they can get out all their guys, and they just sack them, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
But I can't believe turn one I was able to get the wall off.
Yeah, well, shutting Benjen down, and then, you had to sacrifice your Mason, essentially, but your marshalling phase was set up to get that wall trigger for sure. But, it's not like there was much you could do about keeping your guys alive with an open arm first no like that, but the Craven's pretty clutch, so curious to see what he follows up with.
I think one of the things I need to remember to do as a player, if I have Isle of Ravens out, to use it, as much as possible. Because I imagine there's so many times where, turns go and I don't even use it. So there might not be too much to worry about putting it now, but,
yeah.
I just feel like I don't use it as much.
Well, sometimes you don't always want to use it, but I know I definitely will throw my opponent, if I think an economy card won't help them, or... if there's literally anything in your deck that you just don't mind drawing, you may as well just trigger it if you haven't triggered it. Sometimes you just don't trigger it, and it happens. So Brian flipped trading.
I played Coppers and he played trading, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, that seems pretty good for you. Brian's trying to press his slight economic advantage, it looks like. So I don't think anybody's surprised to see this table. You are pretty well known for your builders be building style. Brian also pretty well regarded as a Greyjoy player most of the time.
Anytime I've ever played him, he's been Greyjoy.
I think that there's definitely some people who would argue that so Brian trying out Prince that was promised instead of maybe a more conventional crossing build, and you trying out a Reigns deck instead of a more conventional Wars or Fealty or Summer build or whatever. What kind of what made you decide you wanted to play Reigns for the tournament?
So this has been an idea in the back of my head for a while. After Worlds and after people started considering me a Builders player, which if you would have asked me a year ago that I'd be a Builders player, I would have probably just killed myself. But I kind of told people, I think it was on Storm Brews, where I told them, I was I'm going to make a Builders list out of every single agenda, every single banner, and me and Storm, a very close friend of mine, Storm is, and he was like, I want you to build a Reigns list. I just think it'd be fun. And we were just talking about some interactions that might be cool. And so I would have to say 90% of it was for Storm. Because I just thought, like, Builders by itself is just fine. And then I might have a little bit more impact in the challenges phase with Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I honestly probably only triggered it, like, 4 or 5 times the entire time. I did notice that certain people were afraid to do entry challenges towards me. So
right. It does change the way people play the game. So, I mean, you get something out of it, just an opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm. And
so it looked like you'd not ever read...
What's up?
It looks like you hadn't seen Miss Greyjoy yet. You, like, Brian handed you the card, so...
Oh, it's... I can't remember.
I can't think of her name.
She's the one that draws whenever warships come out.
Yeah. Which, I think, Bleers marshaled Euron before playing her, so, oof, he probably regrets... Looks like he missed out on a card for that one. He could have gotten a card there. And you've got the gift now, so you're up and running economy-wise.
Yeah, I'm really happy with my backboard. I think if I got a couple abandoned strongholds, I'd feel a little bit better. But it's a work in progress for sure.
Builders be building. So when Bleers plays this Euron, what's going through your head as far as dealing with this threat?
So it looks like he did get out of silence. My thought was I need to make sure that I remember that he has Intimidate. The first time I ever played against him, like whenever they first played it out, I completely forgot that he had Intimidate, and it just rocked my world. And then they stood him, and then it just wrecked my life. So my thing was, like, I just had to be smarter. I had to realize that he might go into challenges with, like, Euron and plus that 8 strength god that he has now.
The Silence's crew, yeah. Well, you got your at least one abandoned stronghold.
Thank goodness. I think this might be the turn that I have, like, a major mess up. I think it's this turn. It might be later.
Board state is looking pretty bleak for you on the character front at the moment.
Yeah, I felt like this game was, like, a really good game. Like, the end result, which, I mean, you did kind of spoil.
Oh, whoa! That explains it. You got another Craven and another Milk.
Yeah,
that's how you deal with that Euron threat.
I knew that this turn was a turn that I played 2 of those on them, because there was no way. Like, the way that I win with Builders is I try to have board advantage plus hand advantage, and if he can draw just as much as me, like, I'm definitely gonna lose.
Oh yeah, I think a big part of the reason Greyjoy is so popular and consistent right now is her ability. Like, if you have not played a game with her and drawn a card in plot phase, marshalling phase, challenge phase, dominance phase yet, it's a pretty good feeling to just draw 6 cards with Greyjoy. 8 cards if you sack at a limited. Like, Greyjoy now actually has that ability to rebound their hand insanely quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So shutting that off is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I put in Dolores set, and this is 100% whenever I messed up. And I felt really bad about it. I'm going to let it play out, and then I'm going to explain what went through my mind to the best of my ability. But I think he's doing an intrigue with... Is her name Alanis? Like, I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, Alanis. Alanis Harlaw / Greyjoy. So I think probably most people weren't expecting you to play Ed on the day, right? Since you were playing Reigns, and maybe there's a conflicting house card Neil there. So was Dolores Ed pretty good?
Happens. People are about to see it anyway. So here's where I messed up. I triggered Ed, and then I also triggered Reigns.
Oh.
And, I think whenever I went to tap my house card, I was like, oh, did I already tap it, or did I forget to stand up last turn? And, like, he didn't say anything about it. Like, I must have played Reigns in probably over a year. And I do bring it up, though, later. Like, I'm just like, I show him both cards, and I was like, dude, I completely forgot. And he was like, oh, no, I don't care. And
Wow.
Like, if you'd asked me to scoop, I just totally would have done it. Like, I would have felt so bad.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But I did Dolores Head, and I ranged into, what was it?
Game of Thrones. Yeah, to stop the rest of the challenges. Yeah. Well, that's pretty big. Well, that is why I encourage active judging in the later rounds, so things like that don't happen. But first round, obviously, things are kind of hectic. I can't watch everything, so.
Yeah, I probably apologized to him about 10 times. Like, I was trying to be as clean as I could possibly be. I'm sure there's tons of other mess-ups that I had, but I felt really, really bad about it. He said it probably didn't matter with the outcome, but, like, the way I explained it, I was like, it's a butterfly effect. I mean, you could have done more challenges and it made my board smaller.
Mm-hmm. Right. But, losing the military and the power there may have made a difference.
But at this point, I feel like even though I'm up on power, because I believe it's 4-0, like I felt like he still had like a pretty commanding board presence. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, did he play Force March?
He's got Force March. Looks like you played Nothing Burns, like the cold.
No, I didn't play
or not Nothing Burns.
Night's Watch plot.
Night's Watch doesn't kneel to defend. Yeah.
Yeah, 4-6-0.
Yeah.
I remember I was actually really bummed that he did that because. I was like, oh, cool, so all my stuff is knelt and whatever they would be able to stand. I was like,
it's a pretty good timing for a Force March, yeah. Especially since he has these he also has these less than active Greyjoy attackers, so he can afford to kneel a military icon here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Never feels good to flip the Night's Watch defense plot when you're a first player and all your guys start the marshalling phase knelt.
It's definitely not. I can't even remember. Obviously, I still have this guy's knelt.
Oh, there's an Age Craftsman. Oh yeah, this guy has done work for Night's Watch since he came out.
There was only I think once that it didn't get something really good for me. I would say more often than not, I actually got economy out of it.
Oh yeah,
perfectly fine with me.
Every time he gets an underground vault, it feels really good.
Mm-hmm. I think that might be.
I like that objectively. I think you both just had to read each other's most powerful card in this game. You're like, what does this Alanis Greyjoy do? And he's like, what does this Age Craftsman do? That's great.
Yeah, this was such a fun game. I mean, we're both playing decks that most people don't really like to play against, and
you guys seem like you're having a good time just from the body language.
Yeah.
There was actually when I sort of announced the stream pairings with some of the inner circle, I got a little bit of pushback from people saying oh, people don't want to watch Night's Watch builders play against Greyjoy, and I actually always think that Night's Watch and Greyjoy are a fairly interesting matchup because there is that kind of back and forth where one of you can run the game on the other, but you both have answers to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little more back and forth, I think, to it than most people think. It's definitely not a boring game.
Yeah, I mean, because he does a lot to get rid of my answers. He actually plays a plot later. I don't want to spoil anything. The ending's spoiled anyway. But as soon as they played it, I thought that I had lost.
Ooh.
And we'll get to that soon.
Now you got me all excited and worked up.
And Hop, I felt really good.
Yeah, your board is just exploded now. Athos pretty good. He's duped too, so you have that Valor protection.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a second Hob there, I bet you'd be feeling over the moon. I take that back. Objectively, your most powerful card is Three-Fingered Hob. That card.
As soon as Three-Fingered Hob, I actually, and this blows my mind, people, whenever I was having my run of success with builders, and people would ask for my lists, and I would share them, and they'd be like, you have Three-Fingered Hob, and there's not a builder. Are you kidding me? It's the best Night's Watch card out right now. You have 2 draw phases. How can anybody beat you if you're constantly filling your hand, and you don't worry? I mean, Econ's amazing. who cares? Like, it's so good.
Right. So Vic has entered the field.
Oh, yeah.
This is starting to turn into one of those boards where you just are waiting for that reset.
Yeah, and I do believe one is coming up sometime soon.
So I've played a fair bit of builders, but I've never really played any builder decks that like used Awful in multiples. Tell me kind of like how you feel about Awful in the deck.
You kind of cut off a little bit, but you asked how I feel about Awful.
Yeah, like overall, how do you think he fits in builders right now?
So at Worlds, I only played one, because I was also playing 3 off to gold towns. But
were you playing off to gold towns in this deck?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to. But surprise, I'm not playing Superior Flame.
Ah, you're only one of your trademarks.
Cut, unfortunately. But I think that my original point of view from my thinking of it anyway was he's more of like a break glass in case of emergency kind of situation.
Sure.
He's great to be there, but I don't think I need him to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, and whenever I was trying to build decks, I was just like, I need these cards definitely to win. And he was a nice one-up. In this one, he's 3, because he was really the main points of like me trying to give intrigues to everybody to win. But
that actually, yeah, that kind of brings me to my next question, which was just like, how did the format, knowing that you were going to play against every opposing house once and not play any mirrors, how did that like affect your deck building?
Well, a lot of my success came from war formats. Actually, I feel like it's the only format that I'm good in. Whenever I build my decks for war formats, which, I mean, this wasn't, but it's similar.
It isn't, yeah.
I don't put in answers for anything. I just try to build the best builder's deck, or at Jesse's it was Targ. Like, I just try to put the best deck together that I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually just let the deck do the work by itself. Because whenever it comes to builders, I would have to say there might be like 2 or 3 decks that I'm worried about facing, and everything else is just okay. I just feel like you have a really positive matchup. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't want to change too much.
So if you were, say, meta decking for like a standard Joust tournament where Stark and Greyjoy are going to be a little more represented and popular and stuff, like what kind of changes do you think you would have made?
100%. The first thing I would do is not be playing Reigns and be playing Wars, because I feel like the answers that I need to put in is probably going to be in the plot deck.
Sure.
And having Wars, you can be a little more aggressive with your plot deck. So I feel like that's what I would definitely do, because there's like the cool horror decks out that I might need to put in confiscation for, because there's one match where my wall got seized like 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I would probably run both Velars, just because I like running both Velars and builders.
Sure. 10 plots gives you that kind of flexibility for sure.
I mean, because if people go wide, or if I can time their Velar with my Velar, because a lot of my guys are just, I mean, they're not unique, so.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like, I mean, builders always be building. Like, you don't really have to change too much about them.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the strengths. The appeal to them is that they basically handle all the threats the same way, right?
Yeah, there was my game against Bohan. I was probably more worried about that than any other deck, other than Stark, just because it's a lot of jumping.
Right.
And my attachments mean nothing to jumpers. So.
Yeah, Hear Me Roar coming off the restricted list has actually, I think, made a pretty big difference in Lannister. Landstar's a great card, too. Roar. Yeah, Free Me Roar! So we got some nice fat boards. You are holding strong, though, against this onslaught of Greyjoy fatties. You're hanging in there. You're getting triggers.
4-0 still? I didn't see if you got power.
4-3.
No, it's 4-3.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah, at this point I'm actually not feeling... Oh, yeah, this plot. Whenever he sacrifices all my attachments,
Oh yes, the board wipe on attachments. And you were expecting a reset here, then I assume.
Yes, I was definitely expecting one. Because I was like, I was expecting the Valar because I had Hob out, and 2 Shadow Tower Masons, which are just some of the best builders, obviously. And so I figured if I could go into Return to the Fields, I would make myself first, sack those 3, get to draw, gain gold. And I figured that he would have some sort of saves or something in his hand.
Yeah, so this is hugely bad for you, because not only are you losing all of your negative attachments, you don't want to sack any of these characters now that you're not forced to remove them from the board, so your plot's not doing a ton for you.
Like I said, whenever he played this plot at this moment,
You just thought it was over, right?
Yeah, and I think I immediately put a milk back in.
Yep, that's what it looks like. So that must feel pretty good. So now I assume you are going to be looking to reset here shortly. Well, now I'm curious because I am used to you generally having both Valors, and now I'm curious as to which you have, since I assume with 7 regular plots you're actually only playing 1.
You're correct, I am only playing 1. And that will come up eventually. I don't want to do too much spoiling since we're...
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, I do not feel good. I mean, he's got the... I mean, he's basically just missing Asha.
Yeah.
Which would just be horrible.
Almost the whole family is just kind of bearing down on you at this point.
Man, like, I'm wondering what's in my hand. Like, I don't even know how I win this game.
That's why it's so compelling. I also am trying to figure out how you win this game.
What's it doing here?
Oh, that looks like Andric, the Unsmiling.
Yeah, so I had never played against this card before, and I think that one of the issues that I had during this game was not dealing with him sooner, because and also just me, forgetting what's in my discard pile, because I believe once he pillages, you can discard like a location or attachment that's in play if it's in your discard pile.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And I think that I milk and Craven a few people, and he does that, and he discards them. So, which I mean, I already used Isle of Ravens this turn, so. But I feel like whenever he showed up, I should have dealt with him a heck of a lot sooner, because I was more worried about everybody else, like Vic. I mean.
Oh, sure, yeah, the standard threats, yeah.
What a wasted plot.
I bet you feel pretty stupid right about now.
I mean, I got Econ.
So, we won't be seeing any more of your games, but how actually overall did Return to the Fields fare for you on the day?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What was that?
How did the Return to the Fields actually end up faring for you, though, throughout the day?
I feel like I would have to say 80% of the time I'm pretty good at timing people's Valars or anything. And sometimes there's characters that I don't really care too much about. I mean, it did well. It was definitely a last-minute inclusion, because I was just hoping to be able to time people's Valars, and I have a couple plots that let me do that. But it's not bad. I mean, I might end up changing it out for maybe if I was playing wars, just more, plot draw, coppers or
sure,
exchange of information. It's not terrible. I mean, I still might play it in wars just because I have so many options.
Right. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
So who do I crave in here? Yeah, so that was a tough decision for me. Obviously, milking Victorian was the easy one because he just kills my win condition. But I was having a really hard decision on who to craven, so I ended up cravening Euron just because I was worried about Intimidate and all that nonsense and just kneeling my board and be able to stand multiple times. I hear Benjamin or Gregor in the background.
Yeah, somebody probably wants dinner. Or they're just murdering somebody.
Oh, hey, this is when I bring it up. I said, hey, man, I cheated. What do you want to do about this?
That's Bleers for you. What a nice guy. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, overly nice.
Go ahead and flip another Reigns plot if you want to. Fuck it.
Who cares about rules? We're just on stream.
Rules were made to be broken.
I was like, I'm going to mess something up somehow and just continue my losing streak.
Well, you're half right.
Yeah, this one of the game I did not feel good about anything because I knew that he was going to win that military. Well, because it was quite a bit. I mean, 8, 13. I can't remember what that guy's strength is, but...
That Andric guy's, like, big. Are you talking about the Silence's crew? I think Andric's...
Like 8 right now.
Yeah, I think that Andric's like a 4 for 6 or something. Oh, practice blade. Out of nowhere.
I don't know if it's enough. Like, he's got quite a bit. I might win this one.
Now, my question is, why do you put military icons on your practice bladed guys, but you don't put icons on your Shadow Tower Masons?
Oh, well, that's not even an icon. It's the missing the cut token.
Oh.
Gave me. I wish I had those, so I feel a little bit more legit, but...
My OCD can't process tokens on a card for one reason and not having tokens for similar reasons on other cards.
I get it, okay? I mean, there's more of their ability. One is like by a different card's ability, but I get it. I'm a horrible, horrible person.
When you're not cheating, you're not using cool tokens appropriately.
One of the worst things about commentating this game is I know that there's going to be quite a bit of time where both of us are trying to figure out math.
Well, that kind of comes with builders, though. Especially 0 resets, 4 plots in builders. Like, these kinds of things are pretty standard.
Plus, I have 2 abandoned strongholds.
Doesn't make it any easier.
I feel like my reset is definitely coming up after this because like this board is just too much. It's almost difficult to look at.
Right. It's doing something because with a board like what Brian has, like for him to not be just running you over right now means that both of you are in pretty good shape.
This one I figured I couldn't win, and then watch this need. And this is when I figured out how bad that card is to just keep getting rid of Craven's milks. I'm honestly surprised he didn't get rid of the milk.
I thought Andric... Oh, okay. Oh, I thought Andric only blew up locations.
No, it's attachments, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was a huge problem. But, like, with everybody else out, like, I felt like I had to target them instead of him for my attachments.
Right.
It also looks like he forgot to take one down on Balon.
Ooh.
Because I don't play Nightmares.
Yeah, that is one of those problems that kind of creeps up. Like, he's got so many bombs on the board that somebody who's only like a 4-coster that does one thing, but does it really well against your strategy becomes twice as threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even realize Andric hit attachments. Like, knowing that, he is definitely a problem card for you.
This entire deck is a problem card for me. Let's see, he has a ton of gold left still. This part of the game has been a little boring. Okay, games. What's it doing?
There are definitely slow power gains in this game.
Oh, we're still in this challenge.
So he's debating the power challenge.
One thing that I was hoping is a lot of people who've ever seen me play Builders, talking about Builders, is I usually do run Superior Claim. So I was hoping with Reigns, plus people know that I play Superior Claim, that they might be afraid to do Intrigue or Power Challenges.
Threatening all three, yeah.
Too much into one or the other.
Right. If I had actually ended up playing on the day, I would have played a Lanny Reigns that had Tears, Hands of Gold, Put to the Sword, and Pinch. Just because I wanted to threaten all three challenges every single game. So I feel where you're coming from in that regard, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like he's doing something here. Intrigue or Power, I'm assuming. Well, it has to be. I wonder if I get off another Reigns this game.
As long as you don't put Dolores Ed in first.
It was an Intrigue then.
Yeah. So you're putting in Ed.
Maybe I'll get off another Reigns trigger.
Some terrifyingly creepy Ramses appear.
Oh, yeah, this one you just kept throwing cards at us.
Yeah, this would be that round. The cards just start flowing. Those Ramses were popular. I like... There's just... It's haunting to look into his eyes. Those things. They're terrifying.
So, looking back at this now, like, I'm not sure why I went so hard to defend the Intrigue. Maybe I was worried about him pulling Ed. Because, I mean, I have to have plenty of cards if I have Hop out. I wonder what's in my hand that would make me want to defend that so much.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably just bodies that you haven't been able to afford yet, I would assume.
Maybe. I know, like, I always like to hold, like, quite a bit back, and just you know, because Valor. And
yeah, if you've been waiting for the reset, you might have, like, a watch as need to, and you're just, like, protecting it with your life.
Right. There's definitely been times. There was a game I had against good old Jim Hansen where I was trying to defend a card with my life, but he Heads on Spike did away, of course, and he killed Alto, so that was awesome. Love you, Jim.
Heads on Spikes had a real impact that day in a lot of games, actually.
It's my favorite plot.
Gross.
I don't know what hurt more against my game with Jim was being like getting Alto Heads on Spiked, or I cravened a card and then he put his Orhai Reborn on it. It's a great game. Like, it all happened like in the same turn too.
Lots of feel bad moments on your end. Paying 3 to cancel your 1 seems fair.
Okay.
So you're finally getting to challenge him back, and he is, it looks like, tapped out, so...
Yeah,
that's pretty good for you.
Pretty excited about that. And the only thing I was worried about was, it looks like Euron, like, standing.
Right.
I can't remember if I went for Intrigue or Power.
I think it was
I got
Power.
Right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on 7 to his, what's like 3 or 4.
Yeah. I mean, Brian I think he won all his challenges, but he didn't get the wall down, so that's pretty huge for you.
Yeah. Now I'm putting something back with Isle of Ravens. Probably a Craven.
Checks out.
Because at this point, I'm trying to remember to put stuff back so that way his guy doesn't just discard everything.
Mm-hmm. Now he's checking out what's left.
Yeah. At one point, I think I just put my discard pile in between us, and I'm like, you can just look whenever you want.
Nice, easy info.
I try to play fast when I play Builders, because I know like a lot of the games go to time.
Right.
I don't want people to like, think I'm slow playing or anything like that.
You don't want people to think you're slow playing, so you distract them by putting Dolores Ed into play and then triggering Reigns. Because you don't want anybody to think that you're cheating.
I still feel bad about it. I mean, I honestly can't get over it. But I mean, I'll never play Reigns again. Like, it was just a one-time thing.
If I recall, Storm pushed you pretty hard to play this deck, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of his baby.
One of my main inspirations for playing. I just, because I wanted to play Shadows.
Oof, that would have been cooler.
Well, yeah, being able, like, not... Oh, yeah, so here's my...
So,
I think you played...
So here's VD on your end and VM on his end. We finally got those resets out.
Yes, I was actually really happy about this. Because I was glad that I was able to time his VM. And
yeah.
Because obviously I'm going to choose myself to go first. I'm going to put my stuff at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Now if you get another Hob, it's not a complete...
The funny thing is, I draw Duke Top. Because I remember I drew it and I laughed, and he's like, "Oh, you got something good," and I played it out of me, and I was like, "That's what I drew."
Nice, nice.
Like, and let's see.
So these boards got a lot more reasonable.
Yes.
Oof, now you have to deal with a 7 strength Andric and Balon.
At this point, I'm feeling a lot better because he has Vic off, but I know he can come back at any point.
Mm-hmm. You have a power advantage here now, and the boards are a little bit more manageable. Mm-hmm. So you got your third Mason, or yeah. There's the Dubtob.
Yeah,
Bleers is like, "Good job, you piece of shit."
High five.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, that was a good job." What else do I do? It's probably the wrong decision, but I'm just curious.
I'm curious to see what Bleers has got to rebound with.
Yeah, I mean, right now I do feel like I have a pretty good hold of the game. I really like my backboard. And, I mean, I have that guy out for even more economy. I honestly can't even remember ever triggering him, so I wonder if I just let him die this turn or something. Or I just forget, because I'm really bad at this game. I swear, anytime I watch, or somebody watches a game of mine, they're always like, "Why didn't you do this or this?" And I'm like, "It's because I'm bad." Oh, look at me putting a little red military icon up.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Now we're have Shadow Tower Mason on out there with nothing.
Yeah, just naked, a naked Mason, just blowing in the wind. So Vic is back.
Yep.
Woo! You gotta deal with this problem again.
Yeah, I was obviously I wanted to go first because I didn't want Hob to die. But I was definitely worried about him having Vic immediately. Because I know at one point in this game I ended up having to search for milks. Like I think I do it quite a bit actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a game where I had to do that at Nationals, where I kept shuffling things back in and I had to search like 5 different times for milk.
Right. That's one of the perks, though. Like, having a guy that can consistently search your deck means you're getting more mileage out of the aisle than a lot of decks are. Skagos and Mason are the 2 guys that like that card the most.
Let's see.
So you're in pretty good position again, but with Vic, you're now missing that wall trigger again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, you hit a Asha on Intrigue Claim there.
Yeah, I was looking at his board. He didn't have any Intrigue at all, and I was like, I'm not really too worried if he bounces in and something, which I don't think Greyjoy has that. Like an Intrigue icon anyway.
Not off the top of my head.
I was fortunate enough to miss all of the Greyjoy Sea of Blood meta that everyone had fun with, so it was a nice little vacation.
It's nice to not have to come back to that.
I think he's going for power here because he wants to use his faction to stand and draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice to see it was nice to see a decent amount of diversity in Greyjoy at Crasters. We had some Prince, some Crossing. Jerry's Hollow Hill deck was interesting, as Jerry's decks generally are. So it's nice that it wasn't just like 8 Crossings. You know, that's pretty good.
I was expecting to go up against Crossing, and he played Prince. Which, I mean, Greyjoy's good. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you play at him, I guess.
Right.
But, yeah, Jerry's deck, Lamsick was telling me about it, how he would, like, put VD, like, put stuff at the bottom, and they have that Greyjoy card that lets you create cards from the bottom.
Yeah, the shitter guy that just draws your bottom card.
Yeah.
That stuff's great.
So I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, the deck had resets. It had Varys. It was a very squirrely deck. It was pretty wild.
One of the things that I toyed with, because I always have so many bad ideas when I build decks, was using like Last of the Giants and Varys to help with like Greyjoy or just anything really.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was cut because it's just a really, really bad idea. Whenever I'm just trying to do one thing, because I mean that was literally me just trying to tech faction. I was like, I don't do that with these, so I had to talk myself out of it.
Yeah, I definitely like after the Barra box dropped. I've been wanting to play with playing with Sea of Blood, so I can just go fetch Last of the Giants and then just like hollow hilling a Varys into hand in the dominance phase. So it's like neither player knows if the Varys is going to happen, but it might. And it's like, that's pretty cool. There's some definitely cool decks you can build.
Let's see, so. God, I hate Greyjoy so much.
Well, at least he doesn't have claim this turn, so you are... And like, there's no false pretense that you're going to get your wall trigger.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're basically just stopping unopposed challenges.
Start, like, trying to grab it, which I don't have anything out, but I mean, I have Hob. Oh, I was wondering why I pulled that out. I think he's choosing to discard. Oh, he pillaged the abandoned stronghold. And he was trying to decide on what to discard with that one card.
Did you take claim?
Valar. Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't have taken claim there.
So I should feel bad about
oh yeah, you're just evening it back out, right? Now you're paying for your sins.
Power claim? I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did. You definitely took mill claim.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean,
Even's even. Even Stevens.
Maybe, but even if I were to lose this game, I wouldn't care too much. Like, I mean, I don't know how much he's been playing, but I knew I was rusty. I should have called it, or I should have remembered. But
right.
I guess I'm gonna start playing more.
It's first round of the day. Everybody's getting settled in.
Well, I mean, this is my first match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was 147 degrees, but
we did.
Like, there'd be so many times throughout the day where I'm like trying to do math, and I just forget where I'm at. So I'm like, it is so hot. What is going on? Like, I was like, this is if I would have known it was going to be this, I would have played almost anything else. I haven't built a crossing this. I'll find something.
When I sat down to try and input the round 2 pairings into Jousting Pavilion to like keep it up all day, I was just like, no, this won't happen because I will not sit in one place for like more than 10 seconds. I kept telling everybody on the day that I was a shark and I had to keep swimming because if I stop walking around and like the air, the slight breeze from my forward momentum isn't hitting me in the face, I'm going to just die. And Joey's just like, oh yeah, one of the vents is broken, so there's no AC over here. And I'm like, oh my god. I can't believe...
You can't open up the door because the garage door is broken.
Just the perfect storm of horrible, horrible heat.
Yeah, so it looks like he played We Take Westeros and he took my gift. And I played Force Marched, and I knelt 2 of his. I knew he was going to kneel Vic because you just stand him.
Right.
So I think that maybe I was hoping to get a milk or draw a milk or something.
So it seems like he's just trying to choke you out at this point. Since he's taken the gift
from... This is the turn he plays a card I've never seen before. I think it just came out.
Uh-oh.
And even, I remember talking to Jim later because they played, and he was like, I wasn't expecting this card.
Oh, is it Defiance?
Yes, it was Defiance.
Oh!
I couldn't even remember what it was.
I've been going on about Defiance. I love it. I love that card. It's really good. There's so much passive, like, kneel now. So many things that just, like, mess with people. A free stand for my characters can go a long way.
Yeah, and I mean, with Bear getting more popular.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Lots of kneel. And I have a ton of gold. What am I going to do with it? Oh, gosh, I love that card. I remember I told myself after World, like, I'm done with Builders, I'm retiring. I don't want people to think I'm a Builders player. I want to have friends. And then, like, this card got announced, and I was like, oh,
well,
this is real, real good.
I can reconsider social relationships.
Like,
I'll take the black.
I'm winning, right?
Yeah, who cares? Who needs them? Yeah, somebody actually told me whoever played Bera in your guys' pod, was it Jim? Oh yeah, it was Jim. It had to have been Jim. Jim told me that I think he had knelt Asha, and he was like, "This turn is smooth sailing." And Bleers so Bleers stood Asha with the Defiance, and then hit him for 3 unopposed challenges with Maiden's Bane.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oof.
Oh, so at this point, I played him out, and I immediately went searching for milk.
Right. You've got to deal with Vic.
I had to get a milk. Like, I was hoping to get him open, I got it. Because...
Jackpot.
Vic's actions, is it Challenge's actions?
It is, yeah. He has to do it in the challenge phase, so... If you can answer him now, you're set.
Yeah, but he's still surprised me. I think this is the Defiance round, but...
It's a sweet play, but it doesn't kneel your wall.
Okay. So at this point, I'm feeling super comfortable because I remember thinking, well, he can only do 1 challenge. Little did I know, though.
Pride before the fall.
So I'm currently up 8-4.
There it is. There's that Defiance. Stan Zandrick. And you're just like, what the fuck is this?
I think I remember reading that, and, like, the jank in me was just like, would this go great in my deck? Like, I like standing, because, like, my mind was just turning. It's like, well, I can kneel my guys with Cast Black Mason and then stand them. Surprise!
Yeah.
Ooh, off to Gold Town. Superior Claim. Woo.
Woo!
But I was like, no, it probably doesn't need that.
If you're going to get janky, then you have to build like a High Sparrow Ghost of High Heart deck where you cap their draw 3, and then you just have 3 Defiance, and then you Ghost of High Heart to discard 4 cards out of their hand. Now that's jank. That's what you got to aim for.
Yeah, that didn't sound fun. I'd rather play...
The second I said that, Jim Hansen probably built it.
Yeah, he probably already has it.
He probably does.
So what is he going for here? He stole my Brandon's gift. I don't know if you count that.
Yeah, that's why it seemed like he was just afraid that you were going to draw another one, so he tried to kind of choke you out here. It seems to be his only real game plan now.
Yeah, whenever he took that, honestly, I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I think late game, like, I already have the econ.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point too, he probably knows he's never getting to your wall, so
Yeah.
he's just taking what he can get, I guess. So he's got a sea stone chair too. So there was actually a decent resurgence of sea stone chair at this tournament. I think multiple, maybe 3, maybe half of the decks were running sea stone chair for the Greyjoy players. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it just forces people to defend military, or else.
Right, it's always been a crazy good card. It's just interesting to see it having left the meta and then coming back. I guess because it's not a warship, it kind of lost its premium there after Vic came out for deck building purposes. Oof, Abandoned Stronghold. Or, not Abandoned Stronghold. You have Abandoned Stronghold. Raiding Longship.
Oh, yes, I remember this. I remember being very upset. I think I called him a cheater or something. But it was power, so...
I mean, you got your forest. And forest does work.
Thankfully. I just remember being really upset and I'm up on power, but not by much. I think he didn't get renowned again.
Oh, man.
Because that was with Balon.
Yeah, that's 2 Balon renowns he's missed. Oh, no, because Vic is his prince, right?
Oh, so it can't gain power?
Yeah, he can't gain power. So, we're idiots.
That's how long I've been out.
Bleers upholding the integrity of the game, and we're over here jibber-jabbering. I wonder if he normally chooses Balon, but chose Vic for you.
I think, I have been out. I usually think that he is the target because he's a lot easier to get off the power challenges.
That makes sense. So yeah, he just can't get power on his Balon.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out because I imagine anybody who's watching this YouTube or whatever is just like, these guys are stupid. Sorry, guys, I haven't played in a while.
What an idiot. Brian's lack of intrigue icons are really hurting him here. You're sneaking these intrigue challenges through, you're getting power, you're hurting his hand. Losing Asha was really rough. That intrigue pull was golden. Unfortunately, you keep having to fight this Andric trigger every turn. So there's another milk gone.
Like I said, looking back at this game, I think one of my misplays, other than just blatantly cheating and on stream for everyone to see, was me not dealing with him sooner.
Right.
Because he was just ruining everything.
Yeah, potentially you could have just milked him. You could have given up the wall for a turn and milked him, and then not had to deal with him anymore. Instead of playing the game of, I'll milk your guy, you'll discard the milk, I'll try and pull the milk, I'll shuffle the milk in, I'll try and dig the milk back out. Which kind of becomes the dynamic.
I think that which me pulling Asha for claim definitely helped me.
Yeah, that was huge.
Maybe he's had some issues, drawing characters.
Yeah, I think if he had the Asha, if he had been able to keep the Asha to play the next turn, it would have helped him a lot more. Right now, you're definitely creeping out ahead now.
Yeah, I think that I end up searching pretty hard for more milks, and I think I definitely go. I can't remember if I go for Vic just to get it away, but I know I definitely end up doing something. Andric, whatever his name is.
Andric the shithead. So we've got Win or Die on Brian's side, and you've got what?
I played Late Summer Feast.
Okay. He's going for his desperation play here, and you just want some dollars.
Yeah, well, honestly, I can't remember. I think we might have a plot or two left, but I can't remember what else I had in my plot deck, but I just played it just because I just didn't really need anything at the moment.
Mm.
But I think this turn I'm able to get some negative attachments on him and then help because he's going to discard his entire hand.
Right.
Which you might not have much anyway. Let's see.
So you didn't have to deal with any We Do Not Sow, it looks like, in this match. So that's kind of a perk.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe he's I don't know if he doesn't run it, or I mean, I don't think he got too many unopposed challenges.
Yeah, well, maybe just got a couple there.
I know at this point I played Watch as Need, because I'm mostly trying to thin out my deck to play builders, to also be able to, which I'm doing right now, to kneel for the search for milk.
Yeah. If you can just keep the milk on Vic, you'll get there.
I think I whiff.
Oh, looks like a Castle Black, yeah. Not quite what you wanted.
I mean, it isn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't what I was looking for.
Right. Well, you're definitely right about your lack of range triggers, because you only had one all game, and it was technically illegal. So there's a Watch as Need. You also haven't been Vinced yet this game, which could have been pretty huge for Brian. I'm surprised he did not have a Drown God Fanatic, especially with the game going this long. Unless he had a different restricted card.
I played Castle Black Mason, which I was just trying to get bodies, and I took the risk of kneeling even more guys out to search for the milk. Because I know that, I mean, he just shuts me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I knew I was still going to milk Vic because it's just a free, there, and I Craven.
Yeah, there you go.
I knew I played something on it.
You finally found the right combination to stop dealing with this problem.
Yeah, and at this point, I was like, I'm just going to keep, which, I don't know how much longer we have. Maybe this is the turn that we're in, because,
we're getting pretty close to time here. This might be the last round.
One point, he was just like, I know it's over, and I asked him, I was like, do you want to just stop? And he's like, oh, stream, so.
Do you just want the torture to end? You've discarded my Milks and my Cravens 9 times apiece, and I'm still Milked and Craven.
It was somewhat interesting because he kept doing things to get rid of my answers, but I kept being able to search for it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I kept my deck and discard pile in the middle because I was like, I don't want to, I guess I moved that, but, I think at this point my deck has 20 cards in it.
Right.
And I was just trying to speed the game along as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Brian's not necessarily helpless, but it is an uphill battle.
Yeah, right now I feel pretty confident about the lock that I have going on right now.
Yeah, after that Milk and Craven, that seems like... Oof, if that Great Kraken maybe been around early when he got a couple unopposed challenges off, that'd have been good, but... So it seems like maybe this makes me kind of look at Prince and think... It's neat, but how much is it really doing for him over crossing? Because first of all, as we talked about, he gave up 2 power. The Prince is forcing him off 2 power because the Balon situation. He could have gotten a few crossing triggers here and there, which would have put him a lot closer to catching up to you at this point.
I think Prince has its benefits, for sure. Being able to stand plus get card draw on all that stuff. But in this game, particularly, I think Crossing would have just done so much better. He would have been, at 7 now at least?
Mm-hmm.
It was played out exactly the same.
7, maybe 9, probably.
Yeah,
I think he would have had 2 triggers.
Icons, though, might have hurt him getting off.
Yeah, late game it would have hurt him a little bit more. I think, yeah, because so like at the time of this recording, we'd only had, so I guess Dance and then Craster. So we had like 2 events with the Bear Box, and it doesn't seem like any real like Prince decks have shown out as being kind of contenders for top tier status, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean I don't think it's a bad agenda by any means. I think I've heard about some decks being out there that really work well with Prince, but
yeah, like there's some cool decks.
Right.
I mean, it could be worse, I guess. Like, at least it's not another Sea of Blood. Nobody wants more of that.
Yeah, I think
there's those brutal entry challenges.
Oh yeah, my entry claim has been pretty on point.
That's gonna lock it up since Vince can't deal with the wall. So.
Oh yep, that's game because I think I'll win Dom plus wall. Anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's it. Like the power total ended up being like what 15-4, but I felt like it was much closer than what the final score says. And I mean, it might have been a completely different thing if I didn't have that mess up like round 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a game going on there with the attachment back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But you had some really good intrigues. Not being able to deal with the intrigue slowed him down quite a bit.
Yeah, him not having an intrigue icon, I mean, I probably got at least 2 or 3 power off of that. I mean, that's just 1 turn sooner. But yeah, and then being able to draw a bunch, builders be building.
Builders be building. All right, well, thanks for coming on and talking about your game.